All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to our stream. We'll be breaking down some opportunities here with our Renko momentum strategy, leveraging gamma levels, order flow, all the good stuff. And the goal is to cut the noise, get focused in on high probability setups that are easily repeatable, duplicatable, regardless of the conditions of the market, right? So that's kind of what our objective is. So let's take a look really quickly. Couple things. Let's just first take a look at the higher time frame. And we are going to try to zoom in here. Give me 1 second. All righty. So this is our hourly chart here on the left. And let's just take a look at the overnight auction. 30,500. We had this run from yesterday with our JOLTS report catalyst. From there, we drove up 500s. We started building or attempting to build value above 500s. Overnight, we ended up trying to see if they were going to hold, but they ended up failing back below. And now we've rotated back down to 3,250. The last 2 days in a row, let's move this camera out the way so we can see the chart. So Monday, bullishness, we had a nice strong recovery from 250s. From here, we had this big run up to 30,000. Tuesday, we built value above 30,000s. Obviously, it's accepted, and now we've migrated up to 30,500. So what we'll be looking for today is to see if we're going to be testing this prior zone down below. So right around 200s to 30,000 as we start approaching or testing the 250 level. So if 250 ends up breaking down, we'll be looking for price to potentially come back in and test our zone from June 30th. That's where we're at right now in terms of structure. We could take a look at some of the gamma levels and see where we're at with that. So we're currently trading under our HVL level. Obviously, we are kind of testing that zone right now. So we'll see if during the session we're able to reclaim. And if so, that could keep us in a positive gamma environment. If we stay below, we're looking at negative gamma environment. And so just knowing the difference of how the market trades depending on those environments, super critical, super important. And that also gives us a good, I guess, a good approach in terms of how we manage our trades, right? So positive gamma environments, we're going to expect moves where we break out to have some type of hedging take place. So we'll probably be taking profits rather than trying to hold, unless we get one of those grind up trend days like we did on Monday and somewhat yesterday. Negative gamma environment, we expect more violent moves, acceleration, and that gives us the ability to potentially catch even bigger trades. So we'll kind of watch and observe. That's where we're at right now. Taking a look at our lug levels, you can see that we've also attempted here to reclaim, and then we failed. So we have a nice failure by the sellers right here in this area. So 422s would be that level, and now we're testing our HVL, and then the lower magnet here would be our lug level 150. So structurally, you know, we are bullish, right? But we are currently in what could be either an elongated retracement, right? Or just simply is just, you know, Globex doing what Globex does, and then could come out to the open, boom, we just take it right back up. So the main levels to watch is going to be our one-day mid as we approach that here at 69s. So 30,069 and 30,000. So this is like our major support level where buyers will have to defend. And if not, and then we start getting back underneath this prior zone, then we may see price end up rotating even lower. So we'll see what happens. I mean, my initial idea on the macro time frame before we reclaim 30,000, when we're in this consolidation, in this range, when we're hanging out in this area, what I was hoping for was to see a bigger attempt by the sellers under 250 and would be looking to accumulate right around 29,000s. But this is what happened here. End up wicking, boom, and then just drove it up higher. So we'll be watching to see as we move into the open here in a few minutes how this unfolds. The main thing is don't get locked into a pre-market analysis because anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. So that's the main thing. We've just got to understand the important levels here as we come into the session. So once again, main thing to pay attention to right now is how we interact with the 250 level. We have been basing here since 843. So if you look at the Renko chart here on my right, you'll see that. Let's get rid of the higher time frame. We've simply been in this consolidation here. So the range we're dealing in is 300 and 225s. So this is the zone here where that auction is balanced at the moment. So, you know, we're actually trading under or in and around yesterday's opening range high. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We've got to wait and start letting price unfold and do what it does. And we go from there. All right. And get Vega here. It's already running. We're just going to restart it really quick. Right. Market on open and balance. Kind of balanced, actually, looking at it right now. You can see here. 30 seconds to see what happens here. Max 7 is pretty balanced. NASDAQ beginning to get bullish here. Okay, Max 7 getting negative here. Everything turning red. Alrighty. There we go. 8 seconds. Good luck, everybody. Keep in mind, we do have a PMI today at 10 a.m. And currently, the Fed chair is speaking, so might be a good idea to just allow the market to digest some of the things that he's saying. Okay. All right. So let's see. The buyers here opened up. We drove, sorry, price opened up. We drove lower, came back to retest the opening print. And now we've kind of rejected here the VWAP. So you can see that nice little pullback entry off 200 would have been a pretty decent short. It's allowing the market to settle down a little bit. It's kind of just crazy at the moment while Walsh is talking. Things while he's talking, it's probably a good idea to sit aside unless something just looks extremely clean here. So that 250 level, we're rejecting, that's what we were talking about. We were holding their support pretty much for the last hour, and now we're beginning to build some value below 250. So we'll see if this is going to be a continued breakdown where we continue expanding lower, or if we continue to stay contained within this region here. See, we're now testing that lower balance zone that we had mapped out on the hourly chart. Let's pull that up really quick. We can kind of watch and observe how this begins to unfold here, side by side. Wow, S&P's down 5.5% as well. So everything's just heavy right now, obviously. So we just need to, if you're not already in the move, then we just need to wait for the next setup. We start closing and breaking below 30,000, we'll be looking for 250s, ultimately 29,000. If we start supporting here, okay. But let's just wait and see what happens as we start approaching our important area. So we haven't really tested this area down here below 30,000, just started building value. We had an attempt here and then they immediately reclaimed. And then sellers tried one more time right before, so 9 a.m. and then 10 o'clock, boom. Now we're getting this nice full rotation, and maybe they're going to go ahead and repair this low 30,000, since that was obviously a news-driven move. I'm filling all these bids here. Let's see if they're going to be able to trade up through all these bids. Take a quick scalp off these bids. Let's see if they hold. Let's see. No, no, no. Right around the HVL level. Cool. Target hit there. So took a quick scalp on those large bid stack. We had multiple hundreds stacking. Plus we had our HVL level, gamma level. So quick scalp, nothing crazy. The market's obviously super heavy. So I'm not trying to, catch a reversal or predict a reversal, but I am looking at least taking advantage of the reaction off of a high probability area, right? A quick little reactionary trade there off the big figure 100. And we'll see now if this continues to drop and clear these bids. It's like you can't quite see that there. Let me move this out the way. And then you guys can see where we had that bid stack right here. Boom. All right, let's refresh that really quick. See if those bids are, now that they've been traded through. Very nice. Look at that. Monstrous reaction there. Testing the VWAP. We're testing the VWAP. Short. Right off the VWAP. That would have been a really great entry right there. Nice quick reaction. 150s into VWAP. That's beautiful confluence right there. Quick 100 ticks. Could have hit that. More bids coming in. They're trying to defend this level. They're probably going to trade right through it though. So let's see. They've already had the big trap reaction. Watching this 150 level here. Let's see if they're going to be able to break through 150s or we reject again. Okay, we're testing this 150, just watching to see. 150, you can see that we are rotating between 150 and 125s right now. So very nice little sell here, nice little balance here. Let's see if they're going to push up to 175s. Very nice. So nice little move from 100 now to testing the 175 level. Could be a potential long into 200 here. We have an ask order for 11 for 141 contracts. So people are going to be trying to buy the VWAP here. Let's see what happens when we test that VWAP. Prime short. Let's see. Does it hold up? Let's see if they're going to spike this thing up here. Okay, watching 75s if they can get this break. Get to 200s. ATR is 159 ticks right now, so that means on average 1 minute candles are roughly about 159 ticks. So, you know, typically if you're using stop losses around that size, you've got to also size accordingly. The other thing is take profits, right? So in this market, you could easily catch 300, 400 tick trades. So now that we understand that, there's possibilities of having nice runners, you know. So we'll consider, once we build the cushion here, getting some runners in the mix. But we're probably going to wait here for this 15-minute to close, and we can see. So we have 1 minute left here for manufacturing PMI release. So let's just see what happens with that. Twelve seconds. Lower than expected. So initial reaction was a push down. They've recovered here already off 125. So let's see what happens when we push to 175 here. So sorry, 125. They rotated down 125. Keep stacking the offer. So we have offers that are not being tagged yet. So let's see if they use that as catalyst. Looking for this next
push here to see if they push higher. Our opening range is now set. So we're right at the mid of the opening range. So we're going to see if we're going to be able to reach either the top or the bottom. All right. We're testing the 200 level. We've been breaking higher, but let's see. So as we start auctioning higher here, is this simply a retracement of the first 15 minute, or are we actually going to get back above the 930 opening print, except above 930, which would be the 230.75 level, and then we can see maybe push higher. So we'll see. Just being patient here today. Don't need to push it. There's tons of opportunities every single day. All right, we're about to test New York Open at 238s, 236s. So that's going to put us between 250s, 225. So we'll be watching that zone overhead. See, very nice grind up. So from that news catalyst here, the reclaim of the VWAP, and that would have been a really nice first pullback. We call this a trifecta setup. We did just get a prime short off the 200 level. That might be a nice opportunity here setting up for us. So we'll see what happens here if they're going to be able to support it here at the mid. So what you see here on the chart, it's what we call Enzo bands. Basically, it's a souped up Bollinger Band programmed for our Renko charts. And, you know, we were obviously, you can see we were compressing here a bit before news. Then they used this push lower to reaccumulate. And that's how come we end up getting this nice rotation. I think we had some bids here. Yeah, we had 217 contracts on the bid. So that was used to fill. You can actually see that the sellers did come in and fill 152 contracts. Let's push this over here. Let's get rid of the higher time frame chart. You can see right here and here again. And then now we have this big rotation. So sellers sold into the news. And of course, that got bid up. And then now we can see we're beginning to try to expand higher. So just kind of watching what happens here. So we had our first prime short. Usually I'm not taking the first one unless I really start seeing some weakness, but everything seems to try to be holding up right now. The 1 minute chart does look like it's beginning to taper down, but we're still holding above 200. So buyers are in control above 175. As long as we stay above 175, this is a buyer's market right now. Or, you know, the auction's being controlled by buyers. The buyers are now confirmed above 200. We're approaching our next major GEX level here at 250s. This is GEX 5. And then we have our opening range high. So that's a very important cluster here. We expect to see some type of reaction as we begin to approach. There's a second prime short. We did tag that GEX level, but we have to keep in mind we're right next to our opening range high, so probably best for us to wait for price to reach that opening range high. Unless you want to take a quick scalp thinking that maybe they'll liquidate lower before they run the high. They just put a bid here at 220s. They're already seeing price kind of hold up here. So we're right in between our opening range high, our gamma level. We've had a pretty nice migration there. So this whole move started from this is turn this part off really quick. It all started from the 100 level where we had those stacked bids coming in. Giving it a second while this loads. While that's loading, we'll just go ahead and put the 1 minute chart up a little bit. You can see we're testing that opening range high. Have to restart this one chart here. Give me 1 second, guys. In the meantime, we'll just throw up some book map. While we get this chart fixed here real quick. Okay, beginning to work. The next news release happening here in 5 minutes. So just obviously busy news day today. All right, I think we're back on track with the Renko chart. Technical difficulty, guys. In the meantime, we can observe what's going on here between 25s and 250s, 225 and 250. Just watching this area here. Okay, got it fixed. So we're just pressing right here. I'm just waiting for the 10 o'clock news, guys. Just kind of fixing my chart here really quick. Found the issue. All right, I think we're good to go. All righty, I think we're good. We're good. We're good. All right, 1 minute left before news. Once all the news is out the way, then I think we'll be able to just catch some simple and clean moves here. All right, 10 seconds here. Let's see. Snag Globe XVWAP here. So we've hit the opening range high. Obviously, we've broken above it. So let's see if we can accept above it. As I was saying, the bid's down here at 100. You can see how they were stacking the bid. And from that move, this is what the catalyst was to rotate, right? We got that rotation. Basically taking out our, is this our RTH chart? Yeah. So basically taking out the entire move down. So now we're just going to watch to see as we move back into this area here. This is our main consolidation where we're consolidating pre 930. So we had a nice balance here. Sellers came in, took it out. Now we're back in, retesting this area. And if they begin to start building value above 300s again, we can expect higher prices. But if we fail back below, then, then that continues. That just basically means we're just getting a pullback into this pocket here, and maybe we see prices come back and retest the lows. So now we're beginning to see some failure watching our prime signal here. So our third one. So this would be one that I would have taken, considering all the context of what just happened. So let's watch now as we retest our opening range high. So our green level here, we have a lug level here, prior red lug level, kind of watching that level there. So we've got this move here, so I'm going to be watching to see, as we start coming back into this area here, how they end up handling 250s, if they're going to be able to continue to support price there. So 10 o'clock open, now we're below, so let's see if they're going to be able to stay down below the 10 a.m. open. So just watching now how we interact with 250. So this would have been an ideal prime short to be our third one that came in, and that produced a pretty decent no heat trade, about 100 plus ticks. Obviously, you take profits. You can either target the next key level, in this case being 250. You could even stay in a trade and just trail. But obviously, the overall trend is still technically market structure wise bullish, right? We've been basically breaking higher, consolidating, breaking higher. And now this could be the next consolidation, unless we end up breaking back below, consolidate a little bit, and then we look for some type of failure to get short into back to the low day. Otherwise, if they continue to hold up, then we just expect higher prices. So right now we're in an important area as we are testing our 300 level big figure. So here's our reclaim here. We also have our VWAP from overnight. So prolongs. I don't buy this high. I don't really buy these opening range breakouts like this. I would wait for some type of failure, then a reclaim, and then get long, especially after we had this big long move up like this. So prices already traveled quite a bit. So I would want to see some type of seller control first, some type of deeper pullback, and then from there, seller failure, buyer reclaim, boom, execute. So that's kind of what I would want to do if I was going to position long based on this current price action from 935 till the current, what you're seeing currently. So chip stocks are down right now. So that's also what's potentially putting and adding to the pressure of why we're not necessarily seeing a parabolic move up. It's been more of a slow, organized control grind, even with news catalyst. So this is where the buyers would need to reclaim here above opening range. Otherwise, it could be a breakdown back inside the range, maybe get a retest of at least the opening print. But we'll see what happens here. Looking for the buyers to step back in. There they are. They're trying. We're testing the 10 a.m. open. A quick scalp. I'm gonna hold this big figure here. Let's see. We're still holding up here, the big figure. Cut that. I'll wait for some type of failure first. So we're building acceptance above the opening range high. There's that expansion. Let's see if they're going to be able to sustain this move higher. Reclaiming VWAP. So watching now as we are back underneath the 300 level. We'll try a little short here, but tight stops. And we'll see if we get that target to opening range high. At least they built some value there. Well, they're still holding the mid, so got to be cautious here. Holding here, let's see. We're pressing that 25 level. Yeah, still cranking. Okay, tagging on that. Just stacking these offers. That short was based on the idea that we had already gotten extreme, got a nice full rotation, came back once again, reclaimed the 300 and filled back below the 300. So whenever I see like a breakout, break back in multiple times, like in this case, you could see, let's kind of put this one down here real quick. Whenever we have situations like this, we hit it, big reaction, came back in, buyers try again. So in this instance for me, the buyers who tried again, we had some large buying followed by selling. We got back under the level. So that was the reason why I like to short. I like that idea of a short. And then of course, because we're above the opening range high, I figure maybe we at least get that retest. But they ended up absorbing right back below. And now they're pushing it up above and keeping it above 300. But it could also reclaim, and the thesis could still play out, but we just need to wait a little bit. Market's still technically holding up. So here we go again. There's that 300. Let's see. Try one more time here. We're back in again. And it's all about what happens here at 02s, because this is where they reclaimed it last time, right? So if they're going to reclaim it again, then that means I fell for the trick twice. And that's what happens if you don't really wait for a confirmed breakdown, right? But sometimes to get the best entries, you don't want to wait for a confirmed breakdown. You just need to take the trade. We're back above 300 again. Man, these buyers are just relentless here. We're still battling here between 300s and 325, so still in the trade. My invalidation level is an acceptance above 325. Couldn't fill those offers. I like that. That's a healthy sign, right? For the sell side. We'll see. So we got some closure back below 300. Let's go ahead and add some contracts. And let's see if we can maybe get a nice little pop here. A little lower. Otherwise, they may trap one more time and reclaim again. I'll be out quicker this time. Watching 75s. Want to see some closure through 75 here. Watching to see if buyers step in here at 75. We're testing underneath the 10 a.m. open. There's my first target hit for 100 ticks. Let's see if we get some acceleration now as we start potentially reclaiming under the opening range high. Take a partial there on that last, on the second portion of the position in case we get a prime long and reclaim, which looks like that's what they're going to do. Let's see. The 75, 75 is a level now. Okay, tagged out on that trail, but nice trade there for 100 plus ticks. Also sized in some more as we started breaking down further. Thesis for that. We hit the VWAP. We were rotating around 300. We had a double failure. So basically, this initially failed against 300. Then we came back again. We had a large participation here. So my initial attempt was here to get short, but they reclaimed it once, reclaimed it twice. And then on the breakdown right here, we just took it down, right? So that was a trade scenario there. So you can see the first attempt here stopped out. Second attempt stayed in the initial position, then added right here on that failure again, and then just took the partial at the key level. Not a big trade. 100 ticks was okay, but obviously we would want a bigger rotation, but the market's not ready for that yet. The market's still holding up. So we have to understand that, right? So we're in a positive gamma territory. We see price break out, then you're going to see pressure come in, right? So every breakout, you're going to see it met by selling. So that's kind of the environment. And as a result, even if you're a trend trader, like if you just look at the 5-minute chart, you know, if you're trailing candles, think about it like that. If you're trailing every single candle low, you would have caught the initial move up. That would have been great, you know. But now we're beginning to start seeing price start sweeping lows. Look at the 1-minute chart. So we're getting these moves up and then deeper pullbacks, move up and then deeper pullback. And that's just kind of what happens when you're in a positive gamma environment. I always wondered, like, how come sometimes price is so clean and you could just sit in a trade and just ride it up and no problem without any, you know, wicks and craziness. And then how come other times the price is so grindy and slow and it's like almost impossible to stay in your trade unless you're, you know, using the higher time frame stop loss, like 15 minutes or 30 minute. And it's all about the environment that we're in, the gamma environment. When we understand that, then we can start adjusting, right? And so that makes a huge difference because, as an example, if I would have stayed in that trade, I would have get back all that profit. You know, and what happens when you're trying to be a trend trader and trying to ride the trend, you know, everybody understands you want to trade with trend. You know, the problem with that is you treat every market like it's going to give you a trending opportunity, and that's not the case. Most people will lose money because they are trying to look for a trend all the time, but the market's going to be mostly ranging all the time, right? And that's the problem. So, and that was always one of my issues. I'd be in trades, and you've probably even seen where I'll be in a trade up. If you were part of my group, you see my live streams, you'll see I'll be up and I'm holding it for the major targets to only have it come back, stop me out, break even. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's why I personally will take partials throughout the entire process. So in the event that it does become a big runner, I'm there. You know, like last week we caught like 700, 800 tick trades on stream, you know? So, and then of course, if it's not going to happen like just now, no problem. I locked in 120 plus ticks, made back losses. I'm green on the accounts. Perfect. So I'm good. So obviously what's happening right now is we are auctioning between the 300 level and the 325 level. So that's the important thing that we want to be paying attention to right now. Our opening range high is that main level right now to also pay attention to. Let me get rid of some of the stuff here on the chart. Let's go to our time-based chart real quick. We can begin to start seeing. I'll clean this up real quick. Let's disconnect our lug levels. Get rid of opening range high. Okay. Okay. Let's just clean it up just a little bit. All right, we got the main things now we need to see here on a clean chart on the 1 minute. Now let's drop our main major level. So now we can kind of see the auction here, right? So this is what happens here, right? So we were initially trading above. We could see the failure occurred around 400s. Could not spend any time. So, you know, we rejected above 400, right? So that becomes our supply zone, our major resistance. I wouldn't even say this is the major resistance. It's technically this entire area right here. This is the actual zone that created this entire migration lower, right? So this whole pocket here between 350s, 450s and 400s, this is where we get that rotation lower. They came back to retest, and then we had this nice dump. So now we're testing this next zone here below. So this also spent time, and that's what we got to look at. How much time we spent here in this area. We spent, you can just see here, hours. So from 2:30 a.m., so all of the European session coming into 8:30, we spent all this time in this zone here, 400s to 300. So now we're beginning to test that zone, and so ideally we stay heavy below 300s, right? We don't want to see price reclaim 400, and then from there, if it does reclaim 400, obviously now these guys are underwater, and then from there we can start seeing higher prices. But as of now, you know, the only thing we're doing is testing this area here. So you see we had this migration lower, we've built some value, we've expanded lower, came back in, we retested this area, and now they're attempting to build some value right here at 300. So the question is, while we consolidate the 300 level, are the buyers going to be able to chew their way back through 300 and hold and accept above? And if so, can we get that next migration up to 400? If not, then what we will anticipate is this is just another rotation back up to test this area. Failure to hold above 300, 350s, we will expect to move right back down to where you see these bids resting. We have 1,200 contracts on the bid right at our opening print. So that could potentially create some gravity on price if these orders are real, right? If these orders are real. So we'll see. Let me see if they're on the actual book map and how long they've been in the book. So it's around 250. Yeah, they are actually there since 1023. So it's actually just placed there, actually. So it's brand new liquidity. I don't know how legit it's going to be. We'll find out. There's the book map. There's the liquidity right there, 240. All right. But people usually will see a bid like that, and they're like, my goodness, crazy. That's the largest size we've had on the book all day. So we'll see if it works as a magnet for price. But usually what occurs is it's going to do the opposite first, and then from there, it'll drag price. So we'll see. Right now, price is contracting here around 300. We need to see some aggressive acceleration through this zone as price is balanced right now. And then once we see that acceleration needs to fail. So right now, who's in control of price? The buyers are in control. Obviously, the buyers are in control. It doesn't mean that you're going to buy right now, you know, because we're technically consolidating right around 300. So the next expansion, you know, that's what we want to wait and see. Now we know there's a 1,200 bid down below. That's important information. What else do we have here? We're also at our HVL level. Our opening range, we totally have spent quite some time here above our opening range. So that price is basically 292s. We haven't really expanded away from it though. So we're sticking and pinning right here at this 300 level. This 300 level is actually our HVL level, right? So this is a very important area for dealers. Above it, we're going to be positive gamma. Below it, we're negative gamma, right? So this is kind of like that line in the sand. So we're going to see which way this thing's going to rip. But what's important is we're seeing that there's a 1,200 bid down below. That's important. Who puts a 1,200 contract bid below? Not a retail trader, right? So whether it's a real one or not, it's not the point. What matters is that it's there. Someone's flashing 1,200 contracts on the bid, and it's still sitting there. It's still sitting there. So This is important information. And it's happening right as we got to this HVL level here. I feel like they're trying to get people short below 300, but I think that's a trap. I think we're going to see price maybe, it could potentially sweep lower, go higher one more time, and then from there we'll look for the breakdown, a real breakdown. As long as we're below the 400 level, as long as we're below this entire cluster here from the London session, right? So from here, basically, I would say as long as we stay heavy below this area here, then I would be thinking that we would see pressure as we move into this area. And specifically would be here. This is our actual news catalyst here, right? Yeah, so I mean, I've been trading Renko for years. So whether you use big Renko, small Renko, the problem with big Renko is that it will hide the market structure. And the issue with that for me is you're going to be using, you're thinking that, oh, it's going to keep going higher, but you're missing the actual microstructure where you start seeing failure. So my original structure with Renko was I'd use 3 different bar sizes, right? I'd use a small, medium, and large, and absolutely it works, and absolutely you can do that. However, when you're in a range, for me, what's important is looking at the ranges, being able to identify the ranges, identify the fluctuations and the flips. I'm using ATR with my Renko, so being able to see those rotations are super important. So I know people want to use Renko to remove like the, I guess they want to filter the noise. To me, it's not noise, right? That's the thing. It's not noise. Unless you're going to use a pretty big stop loss, like for instance, if you use, like for instance, I was using 16 bar Renko, that's fine. You can use a 16 bar Renko, which usually will give you about 100 to 150 tick stop loss, which that's okay. It just depends. I'll use that sometimes when the volatility is really, really high, but for at least what I'm doing here, I like being able to see the microstructure. I think as a newer person with Renko, yeah, you definitely might be a little much to look at if you're not accustomed to reading the auction. But I like all that stuff because I'm looking at the order flow, looking at the bids. I want to see the exact location. I want to see the reclaims. I want to see the failures because all that data is being crunched into our AI, and that's actually what's also giving us real-time commentary and feedback. But yeah, when it comes to Renko, I mean, the original name of the channel is called Renko Momentum Traders. So we probably know Renko better than anybody when it comes to actually using it in real trading, not just like building indicators. But it's a personal preference at the end of the day. It's whatever floats your boat. Nice fail there at 10:30. All right, so we watch what happens here as we start approaching our 250 level. It has been removed. They use that to pull price lower. No longer there. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Okay, we're getting back below opening range high. We're testing 250s. Watching here. Are we going to continue to get acceleration lower? Or are we still going to be playing within this range here? What's it going to be? Got a nice pullback there to our 50. Getting more expansion now. So we got our trend now. Looks like it's beginning to sustain here. And if you look at a 5-minute candle, you're seeing a big 5-minute expansion here on the 5-minute chart. They lowered the bid actually to 200 now. Is that right? They canceled it. Okay. That 300 level was really key as they started pinning here. Could not stay above it. But let's watch what happens now. If, how they're gonna play this pullback. Is it a pullback or is this going to be continuation lower based on the higher time frame? Watching the retest here. This can now become our area to risk off of. If we are unable to reclaim the zone here, this becomes a very good area for us to now start hunting shorts from below. So if we can stay heavy below there, that's kind of what I would be looking to do. So now we've kind of built some nice volume here. We've got some trap traders in this area, right? These guys are all, whoever was buying here, they haven't been fully liquidated as of yet, but the weak hands are definitely liquidated, but there's still opportunity here because people still will be looking at this as an opportunity to get long on a deeper retracement at the VWAP. The actual perfect or the right timing of this is after we had a price run, are we able to stay heavy underneath this structure? And then we can look for what we call prime short to get short into. So this 10 o'clock or 10:30 opening print at 264 becomes kind of like our auction level here, to see if this candle, this 30-minute candle, is going to remain bearish or bullish. So after consolidation, we want to see an expansion. That expansion will either succeed or fail. So right now we've expanded to the downside. It's either going to succeed or fail. So 250s or is this 225? 225 is the level. They're holding up. Take a look at our initial balance here. Where are these buyers at? I think these buyers might be gone. What was that large bid at? 200s. There's a prime long right there. That would have been the idea, but I still want to wait to see as we approach our major zone here. See what happens here. We start approaching this trap zone. Would have been a good scalp though, for sure, off that low right here, prime long. And then we got some aggressive buying happening right there too. But we'll see if these pullbacks begin to start firming up. So very nice structure here, lower low, lower high, break of structure, price now trying to reclaim, but this could also simply be a sweep before we get the next leg down. But we'll just watch if the pullback holds. We look for technically a prime short off this based on this volume that's trapped below or above. So for me, I'd like the entry to be a situation where we hit it again and then boom. As long as we don't start reclaiming back above. But the issue is we got our IB high, so maybe they're going to try to run the IB high first before they do what they got to do. But we'll see what happens. So again, we're right under this area here. Wrap traders. We're reclaiming the opening range high. Let's see. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to buy that. We knew that we got these trap traders here, so the fact that we're getting bullish below, you know, we wanted to be cautious. I would have liked for price to push up a little higher to get long into, or sorry, short into. Still a possibility. We'll see. So pullback buyers are getting stopped out now on the Renko chart. So anyone who got long here just got stopped out. You can see. So why it's important to know like the overall auction structure where we're located before we start taking signals, because you get everything can be a signal, right? You can always frame a long, a short, whatever tool indicator you're using. But when it comes to real time, it's important. What's more important than the signals? What's the story? What's been happening? What's been going on this entire time? So it's pretty simple. You know, we had initial price run lower. We rejected off of our HVL level at 30,090. That's an important key level. Combine that with our 1-day min. So that's also very important. So we already knew our range for the whole session, you know, would be the low would be around 30,069.50. So 85% of the time, price is going to close within the 1-day max, 1-day min. So we approached that level, and then we had massive bids show up, and we got that big rotation all the way back up. So price run down, hit the min, hit major levels, stack bid, price ran all the way back up. We broke opening range high. We've consolidated right there, but that was also below our European session value that was built, and we spent about 30 to 45 minutes in and around the 300 level. And now we're beginning to try to get price discovery or expansion underneath it. So far, the sellers are still in control, in my opinion, even though we did have this price run above the opening range high. That's so bigger picture, at least from Globex, we're sitting under most of the volume, right? We're trapped underneath it. So to me, we're going to probably see price stay heavy until price proves otherwise. So below 300, right? So 300 is going to be now that level that we are going to continue to monitor. So how do we trade this? Well, we could be looking for opportunities to the level. We can look for opportunities away from the level. It all just depends on your approach and your strategy. So for me right now, I'm just waiting to see. Maybe we do get another retest here of that area and run these stops. Maybe get a run of the IB high. So we'll wait and see. But it's more like scalp opportunities than anything for me at this point. So 200, let's watch just 200. I'm going to probably trade through it. Next 15-minute candle opening up here in 7 seconds. And what are they going to do with that? Are they going to just slam it and we get a break of the low? Looks like it. Let's see. All right, that's good. We're building that structure now out to the downside. I will be looking for shorts now as we continue to expand. I'm going to be looking for these deeper pullbacks. So now that we're trapped, prices expanded through these lows, I'm going to be looking for price to eventually come back, either hit the 200, our midpoint, or get me on the other side and get short off of our upper band. This is what this could have been right here, but we did not reach that. So we ended up failing, and then the pullback entry would be right there. But it wasn't confirmed enough yet. We only had one failure point that we would be risking off of. So now we've got two. So we'll see as we start approaching if we get a retest here of this area. I also like the idea of a possible scalp long here too, you know, so we can take a scalp long for a deeper pullback or a retracement off these levels. Let's see what happens as we approach the 200 level. We're building acceptance below. Looking for a prime short. That's what it was. I was like, why aren't my extremes plotting? There we go. That's what I needed to see. Okay. You guys think we're going to break IB high? We start reclaiming opening range. Let's see what happens here. So that prime long was would have been a nice opportunity to catch that rotation. Now I'm just going to wait to see if we can get through this area here, fail one more time, and then take it back down. I'd be looking for maybe a run. So we have this situation here, and then something like this. And then we go all the way back down. That's what I would want to see. But it could also potentially take out our IB high. So we'll have to just watch it as it unfolds. Just depends. So I usually take partials, right? So I'll take my initial scalps anywhere from 60 to 100 ticks, or my initial targets. And then my runners, I will hold for, if I have a higher time frame level that I'm anticipating, I'll hold as long as I can for that level. So it could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 to 30 minutes to an hour for the runners. So the runners, I'll keep probably like 10% of the position and then just try to maximize that. So if you for me, it's like that's the most important thing, is that balance, especially in the kind of market that we're in, being able to pay yourself for being right, because obviously you get in your trade, if it's giving you 25 points, which we know the market with the current conditions is easily moving 25 points like in a minute or two, pay yourself, and then of course just try to milk that runner as long as you can. So for me, it could be the runners themselves. There's really no time expiration. It's just more so whether I get tagged out on my trail. And I'll trail pretty loose too. So, I have no problem on my runner giving back, 20, even 30% of the trade. But that's kind of what you'll need to do if you're trying to catch a 700 to 1,000 tick move, is you got to give price the ability to, rotate during the trade. All right, let's watch here. Looking for a spike up into 250s and a failure above. They're getting people short here, so I want to get these short sellers to get trapped. Times it. We have 5 minutes left for the hourly candle. So 10:30 here is closing bearish. Well, no, not really. Oh yeah, it is. So our 15-minute. So failure to close above 300 on the 15. But now we are finding support at our major lug level here at 178. So this gives us an opportunity, possible two-way auction here, where, once this closes, we may see price attempt one more time to retest this area here. So we'll just kind of see here in the next 15 minutes what happens. But the Renko chart now pulling back. It could be failing here, so we may not get that liquidation to the upside. Or it could be a trap. This could be the trap for the sellers. Pretty ugly price action in the last 10 minutes. If you're looking at a 5-minute chart. New bid at, what is that? Let's see, is that still in the book? It is. So 150s, they've just threw 800 contracts here. Might be hard to see. Let me put a 1-minute chart back on. So that's notable. So we had talked about the 1,200 contracts that were 250 that got placed under price as we were pinning the 300 level. That was used to pull price back down. This price approached it. They canceled the bid, so it was a spoof. It was fake. Once we traded through 250, now we're beginning to kind of like see price build some value below here, and then just added another bid right now, 800 contracts. So we'll watch and see if that's going to hold up. If they're going to actually up, they canceled it. They actually canceled the orders and lowered it. Is that right? Yeah. So they are trying to get price lower. Now 100. Yeah. There's that pullback under 200s. That would have been the short. That's not, I was looking and anticipating for more of a extreme move up through the bands than looking for that rotation. Similar to what we see here to the downside. We call it a prime long. I was looking for that for the sell side, but didn't get that. They just pulled back down here to support. So let's see what happens. So people who bought this trap, again, enough people trapped here, buyers trapped. So a bunch of sellers now are in the money. So let's see what happens as we start touching the 150 level. And then we'll have a new hour candle open up, and then we can maybe get the actual trade setup that I was looking for. We shall see. So we get this drive up higher. Watching 200s. If it holds here, possible long up into these highs here. Be a quick scalp long. But let's see what happens. 200. Holding that pullback. I didn't take it. I didn't execute. I hesitated there. That pullback entry would have been the entry, but don't know if I really want to be long here. I think I'm going to stick with my original plan here. Wait for the price to get extreme and then maybe look for that fade. But I'm also being cautious watching the 15-minute chart as we begin to start approaching the prior 15-minute high. But if they do start staying above the prior 15-minute high, then maybe we will get that move back to the initial balance high. But we're still within the balance. And so we know that most of the time they're going to take out one side or the other. But we're right now in the mid. So it's like 50-50 in that sense. But overall structure, you know, we've been heavy since Globex, but we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. Looking for this run here. Let's see. I'm trying to see if we can take out even these guys up here. And here. Here we go. There we go. 15-minute now trading above the 15-minute high. This could be a nice scalp prime short here. We need to get a little bit more extreme. But is this a trend reversal? Is this a double? Is this where we begin to rotate back all the way up? Well, that's what we're going to find out. We did get that higher low. Yeah, a little bit too aggressive for me to short this thing now. Yeah, once we reclaim that IB opening range high, then not interested anymore. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. And stacking that offer. Watching, just waiting. That 250 level opening range high. Let's see what we're going to get here. I think we're going to probably get a prime short in a minute, but don't think it's ready yet, to be honest, guys. We'll see. There's the prime short, but I'm not taking it yet. Let's see. That's the move I was anticipating, but because we didn't really, would have preferred if they got a little bit more aggressive here. That would have actually been the scalp target right there. Damn. Should have hit it. That's the one I wanted. I mean, that's what I was waiting for, but keep hesitating here, guys. But it's okay. Some days are going to be like that for you. I'm going to try this little scalp long here. Just because I wasn't really convinced of that price action in and above that level. So I'm going to take a long there and try to target the opening range high again and or IB high. But I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Watching this moving average here, this 50, to see if it holds as resistance. If it does, then we'll get continuation lower. And that'll be the end of it. Let's see if we can reclaim and get a super trend flip here. There's a buyer, 200. Let's see what the reaction that has on the market. Maybe a stop loss hunt. We had the sellers coming down here. And now we're kind of like just basing between 25s and 200s. So we'll see what they do with this. There you go, 75 picks. Let's see if we can push back to this high here at the opening range. It was 100 ticks. I'm going to take my partial, stops break even. Let's trail the mid for right now. I'm target IB high 325s. But we'll see what happens if we can get there. Just had to be a little patient here, you know, and that's the thing. So we'll see what happens here as we start approaching our opening range high. Possible adds on pullbacks if this can sustain, right? So we want to start seeing this whole area here now get traded through. But again, the original problem we had was this structure there, right? So this zone, trap buyers here. So I expect there to be some heavy resistance as we start approaching the 250, getting above opening range. You can see we failed here multiple times. Right there, right there. So are we going to fail a third time? And the buyers or the sellers just come back in and step in. So we'll see. I'm just going to set my trail. I got to let price expand a little bit more before I really put the trail on. Just let it do its thing. All right, I got 12 seconds left here for the next 15-minute bar to open up. Hopefully we get expansion now. 180 ticks, almost 200 ticks. Let's start trailing with our super trend. Hands free. And then I'll put my target even higher. Might be a little too tight there. By the way, we've locked in 200, about 50 points. Now we got to watch out here because we might get that next prime short. This would be the prime short, to be honest. But as price is staying firm above this prior area here, I would not be wanting to short into the level. So for this scenario, we would need it to get back underneath and then go. So as long as this is here, this is going to be a potential support area price. And this is why I like using small Renko bars, because I can actually see the market structure. When you're using a big Renko bar, you won't see any of this. You're just going to see a bar and then a bar. But you don't understand, like, market interacts with ranges. And if you can't see the ranges, then you're missing the most important part of the auction. So let's see if we can reclaim 75 here, because we just had a failure. So this is nice because these sellers here trapped. These guys are now getting trapped, but it's not confirmed yet. We would need now to see stay above the area here. So all this now becomes sell side liquidity, meaning these guys are all in here that sold, and potentially if they get trapped, now we can run this up. And we know statistically IB high, they're going to run that. Whether it's the high or the low, we don't know. But based on whether one side form for whatever the stats are, I don't really pay attention to all that. Don't need to. I can just trade the price action, but I can anticipate that we're going to probably run this IB high now. So if that's the case, I have no reason to cut the trade and just wait for us to get there and take that target. So 327 will be that target. We're holding 300 ticks right now. And when we're trending strongly, I can literally just trail the structure. So these swing lows, right, on the Renko chart. Let's delete some of this stuff here so we can see what's going on. And so what this tells me, we had all these offers stocked, we traded right through it. So that means that these orders just, no buyers totally just took out all the offers, right? So buyers right now are way stronger, way stronger than the passive sellers here. And it's okay, because you see them, they keep stacking offers, which to me means that they want to keep selling higher and higher and higher. So price will keep going higher and higher and higher, chasing offers. So we're approaching our HVL level. This is where we actually rejected from on the 15-minute chart. Let's go to the 15-minute chart really quick. So I'm going to be cautious here. But we do have 11 minutes left on this 15-minute candle. That gives us a lot of time for price to do what it needs to do to expand. So let's see if we can get that last contract at the IB high. Oh, there's actually two on. So I'm going to take one off now as we approach the IB high, because technically, as price approaches these levels, we'll see some type of washout or shakeout, I should say. So we're pinning the 300 level. If we look at the Renko chart, this is our opportunity here to see if they're going to be able to use this pullback to accelerate into the IB high. So that final target will be taken off at 326s. Possibly even higher, but it's okay. Don't need to be greedy here. They did spend quite a bit of time in this range, So, I mean, the entire session, we've been inside the IB. So maybe we can see some type of reason for price to go higher. And there is some reason, right? We've got some areas here that need repairing. So I kind of like the idea, potentially. Let's go to our majors here. 400s, 350s. I'll be looking for 350. Boom, look at that. So we are up right now 400 ticks. 80 points. There's IB high. There is the liquidity at that level. They just bought 400 contracts into IB high. That's wild. Let's see if we can pump through 350s. Pump it up. I guess I'm going to go for even higher. I'm going to be looking at our red lug level as our max target here, 422s to 441s. But that might be wishful thinking, because the market is technically overall heavy from Globex, right? So might be a little too excited there, but who knows? That's what a runner's for. You can go catch those lotto trades after you've paid yourself. And let's see what happens here as we start approaching the 300. Now, if we fail back under 300, I will get short. If we fail back under 300, I will get short. But if not, I'm going to stay long as possible. Long as possible. And open. Okay. Let's get rid of some of this liquidity. They are stacking that offer. So that's an example of what happens in a positive gamma environment. Dealers have to hedge. Nice trade. Price still staying steady here at the IB high. 15 minutes to expand. We still have 6 minutes left. And again, pretty sticky here. See all those offers stacking, stacking, stacking. But no effect. We haven't seen an effect yet. Watching the book map here. Pretty decent entry. I mean, I really had no heat on that trade. Maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's pretty decent entry. My stop was going to be below the 11 o'clock open just in case. But that was pretty clean. All right, looks like we're getting this move back to 300. So buyers are going to try to defend 300. Sellers are going to try to reclaim 300. And the objective was met, which was the IB high, right? So probably going to get trailed out here, and that's okay. Should probably put my stops below the bids, but prime short, that's pretty. I'm gonna probably end up flipping short now to take that prime short. Maybe I should have waited for that 300 reclaim. Let's see what happens here. Prime short. Let's go. Can we reclaim 300s? I'm a little concerned with those bids there, but we'll see. There's strong move up like that. You got to be cautious. Got to be cautious. They're holding 300s. Might not be ready yet. They might run it up one more time here. Quick to cut this thing. Let's see. I'll cut it. See that? I'm not trying to sit through that. We'll just wait a little bit. They're still active here. This will be inversion zone right here. We'll see what happens. Look how they're stacking it here. It's crazy. Buyers defended 300. 15 minutes still has some time left. Are they going to get that closure above 300 on the 15 minute? Oh, there you go. Let's see. They're going to lift price here to the 350 level. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, I like that. When they throw a bid as price is lifting, let's see what happens now. Into the offer. I'm going to use that to push price into the offer. Let's see. Nice. Look at that big aggressive sell there for 274 contracts. Let's see. Oh boy. So 15-minute did give us a nice break above the 300 level. Now we are testing 350s. Taking a scalp short here. Let's see if we can stay under 343s. The last little trade here for the live stream. We start popping above 43, I'll be out. Or staying above 43, sorry. Yeah, looks like they're trying to build some value here above IB high. Let's see. I'm going to try. Might be too early here. Too early. Try one more time. You just see this thing stay under 43s. Then to catch it back down to the IB low. IB mid. If we can stay down, but we'll see. Not gotten that flip yet on the Renko chart, so they are defending. They are trying to bid it up here. We'll see. First partial will be at maybe 300s. We'll see if we can get there. But still battling here at the IB high. You can see the bids. It's all bids here. So let's see if we can trade through these bids. Possible those bids will be used as support to pump price higher. This is the issue right here. This is what I'm watching here. We get underneath this level, then this is going to be a failure, and then we can expect even a bigger move lower, right? We'll see, but they are holding it up. Sellers might get absorbed here. Buyers stepping back in. It's a battle zone here for control above the IB. There's my 50 ticks, 70 ticks, 80 ticks. Let's go ahead and take that first partial. Stops at break even. And we'll just let it go. See what happens. Are they going to reclaim the IB high here? Is this just a deep pullback before we snap up higher? Possible. We get, but if we reclaim 300s, then bigger move lower, right? That's what I'll be looking for. So let's remove all this stuff here. There's 125 ticks. Let's see if we can, we got selling too down here. Let's see if we can get more movement below these lows. We get through these lows here. Now the buyers are trapped. Now we have significant volume trapped here. Nice. I'll be looking for 262. 200 ticks again. Look at that. Okay. Got to watch out here. This could be where we get some support. This is again where buyers will defend themselves. This is where this, if we start building acceptance below here, then sellers are screwed. I mean, buyers are screwed. This is where they should step back in if they're going to take control. I will take another contract off just in case, because still bullish overall, right? I mean, structure's still bullish. This is just the first. This is just a deep retracement until it proves otherwise. So I don't want to give back the 200 ticks. So we'll see how they interact here with this 50 moving average. This is usually the test of momentum to see if the sellers are actually in control here, or is this just simply some profit taking, some exhaustion, and a reset, right? The best entries for longs are actually off the bottom band, right? Those are the best entries with the best risk to reward. So that's why I took that partial in case this is just what we call reload. Boom, boom, rotation, boom. buyers are still technically, you know, in the game. So we have to see if the sellers can actually just overpower the buyers here and we just reclaim 300. And then if that's the case, we'll just expect price to move back at least to our midpoint of this range that we're in. But if not, then cool, price can continue doing what it needs to do. So I'm just, which looks like it's trying to stay bullish, but we'll see. 5 minute, this is where buyers are going to be hanging out here. They're buying off the 5 minute 9 moving average, which is the top of that, which is basically like 280s, 275s. That's where they're going to be hanging out. So I'm seeing that the sellers were not able to really reclaim the ATR here on my super trend. The buyers have flipped it. They've flipped the super trend, flipped the ATR. So they're controlling the ATR. So we'll see. This could be where they step on the gas here. So we've got to watch out. Nice. We're chewing through the support level here. Sellers are showing up and attempting to push lower. The buyer here failed to remain in control. Same thing here. The buyer tried, The buyers are here, but they're not getting the results. Sellers are getting the result right now. We had this price run higher, right? So structurally, these guys were giving us the final push. Boom. And now we just hit these guys' potential stop losses, triggers, sell stops. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. Buyers would need to step on the gas now. Otherwise, we might start seeing some panic selling from the guys who bought the Ivy break. But 5 minutes still bullish. 5 minutes still in control. So okay, there's that buyer once again. Trying to buy and get long here. Let's see. I'm still in my position, break even, so it doesn't matter really what happens here. So they need to reclaim this level here. It's like the 5 minute just swept the previous 5 minute low. Yeah. So the test here would be on this Renko chart. We get that pullback hold structure, moving average here. Then that would mean that there's enough strength here for continuation. If not, we get the reflip, meaning this ends up flipping back below. So you can see how our super trend here goes from green to red. This flips back red, then more trap buying. And that's good for us. Trap buyers. Let's see. But we know that this is an important level right here. That is the level. 300. I'm just trying to see if we can get to the other side of the range because we are rotational today. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. So they got some trap buyers there. So people were trying to buy off the opening range high. Sorry, not opening range high, the 9 moving average on the 5-minute. They might be getting squeezed here. Let's see what happens. We get a washout, shakeout. Got 20 seconds left on this 15-minute chart. 15-minute candle to close. We're just beginning to build value here. We got range to within a range. $250 ticks. All right. Testing 75s. Maybe they want to test opening range high. All right, this thing is just nice, slow melt back down. I like that. Fantastic. Another 338 ticks. So the first one we got was that nice long outside the scalps we took, the long for 400 ticks, and then now we're in a short catching a potential trade for another 400 ticks. Just playing the rotations off the major levels. Gotta watch out now. We're getting we get extreme, so they may give us another pop. Opening range high reclaim. Let's see if they're going to support price here. Will the buyer step in? If they fail here, then this is going to go back down towards potentially low of day. So that would be interesting. So let's take a look at the hourly chart real quick, or 15-minute chart. This is the session so far. We rotated higher, lower, higher. Key level here is 300. It's our gamma level, our HVL level. So this level, obviously, we can see they've been pinning here. And we don't know if they're going to continue to stay in this range. It's possible, but as long as we can't, as long as we stay under the 300 level on the higher time frame, then this is going to continue to give us a lean towards the sell side. Right? Maybe we get like a breakdown and take out the 150 level, and maybe even more aggressively retest down here, the low day. So it's all about how we end up closing here. So we close outside, back inside. So this is a major rejection of the 300 level. Failed acceptance, but this needs to now give me some breakdown. If we can get closure through 250s and get maybe closure through New York Open and a VWAP, so that whole cluster here, if we can just get some strong aggression and close through these levels, then that means the buyers will have to put a lot of effort to get this thing back on track. Buyers still have a chance to reclaim opening range high. That's what you see, that orange line there on my Renko chart. VWAP, are there buyers waiting here for VWAP? I don't see anything really on the bid, big or significant that's notable anymore. There's nothing really. Video. 250 now looks like it's beginning to support price. Also our matrix is also GEX 5 level. Prime long here. I'm still in my short. This is where buyers will need to defend. They need to step in if they're going to take back control. But it's already 12 o'clock afternoon, lunch hour. So we'll kind of wrap it up here once we get this final resolution of what happens with this setup. Okay, they're trying to reclaim that opening range. Let's see if they can get back above. Nice. Oof.
Well,
All right, almost at 400 ticks on this. Almost 100 points on my runner. So the buyers attempted to reclaim the opening range. Notice how we failed off this 275 level here. 15-minute just staying heavy. But now we're at that VWAP. We're at 9:30 open. So let's see. They still have a chance, but whatever. I know pullback buyers are getting frustrated. You got to think about it. Like whenever the market's moving, there's always two sides, two views, a buyer and a seller, right? And what are they thinking? And obviously, I'm a retail trader, so I'm going to think like a retail trader. And I know that people who trade different time frames are looking at different things. So maybe like a 5-minute nine moving average versus a 1-minute moving average versus a 21 or VWAP, whatever it is. So right now, like anyone who's trading the 5-minute, they're thinking pull back to the moving average, right? And they're trying to buy off that. Or they're thinking 5-minute fair value gap, they're trying to buy that. People who trade order flow might be looking at, oh, I got a VWAP, or I got some type of volume here that I could be using and leveraging to get long off of. And that's great, right? So all these things, that's just the thesis that people are going to have. But then the most important thing is being able to recognize what is the logical view, what the chart's telling us, right? So if we understand, okay, cool. And then from there, what's actually happening? You know, who's winning? That's the key. So who's winning? Who's getting stopped out? Who's in pain right now? And so currently, the buyers are in pain, right? Maybe like 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, the sellers were in pain. And so when we know who's in pain, who's getting squeezed, who's getting stopped out, like I want to just trade against that. I want to trade against the people who are in pain. So if they're buyers right now and they're in pain, I want to be a seller. And that's kind of what, you know, what I try to do to frame my ideas with the trades. And then of course we have our signals and our indicators that basically tell us what people are thinking. So everyone right now, based on this, we know are buying or selling pullbacks. Cool. And it's what's working. Great. Earlier people were buying pullbacks. You know, so and when we see these prime signals, that's where we potentially see the mean reversion that could be the catalyst for reversal. So anyone here who got long, right? So this was like a warning sign for me. Hey, watch out. It's getting overextended here. And then as soon as these guys, I don't know if you guys can see that on the chart here. Let me bring it to the right side. So everybody was happy, buying, safe. This was the first warning sign. Actually, the first warning sign came here under the opening range. Then we got the next one here. I tried to take that one. I don't think that one worked out. Let's see. Yeah, so we got long from down here, and then we took the profit, flipped short, thinking maybe this is the one. It wasn't. Tried again. It wasn't. And then we caught this one, and we took the partials, and now we're rotating down. So in this instance, warning, but it didn't confirm yet. And so that's kind of the hard part sometimes when you have signals or indicators, you start thinking, well, the indicator said this, so I have to do this. Well, I don't look at it like that. I look at it like a feedback. And so if the signal fails, that's also a signal in itself, right? The signal failed, that means the opposite signal is what's in control. So for me, as soon as these buyers right there, those arrows pointing, let me take this off, pointing up, that represents the pullback buyers, momentum buyers. These guys started failing, and these guys started failing, and these guys started failing. And now we know who's getting stopped out, who's in pain. And now it just makes sense at that point you can sell. So we'll see now, but the sellers are still in control, but we're beginning to start seeing some attempts by the buyers to step in. Got a nice little price run off the VWAP. And what's happening? It's the top of the hour, right? We're about to flip now to the 12 o'clock hour. So a new auction is going to begin. 12 o'clock auction is going to begin. So we're just going to see what's going to happen here at the 12 o'clock auction. Auction, not option, auction. And that was the other thing too. This is kind of the main catalyst for the short trade. Let me get rid of the chart here on the left. So the short, so what happened is at 11:30, once we failed below the opening print for the 30-minute candle, right in this area here is the reason for the entry. Sellers came in, filled the bid. That's important. Buyers tried, failed to get the reaction, failed to reclaim. On that failure to reclaim, boom, whack it short. And that's it. And then all this stuff here is just showing us basically normal fluctuations and pullbacks of price. And so market structure, right? But the key things to note is when we touch these lower bands, typically you're going to be getting reactions off them. So I don't want to short, I don't short the breakdowns. We short the failures. So in this case, there's a sign of strength from the buyers. Buyers stepped in, boom, accelerated. Large offer got filled, 181 contracts. Aggressive buying, right? They get absorbed. There's our sell signal right there. Bam. But that's not the failure. The failure is technically right here when we start getting this right there. We see these little arrows. That's the failure move. That's the confirmed entry. So just depending on what type of trader you are, what type of risk you take, what your experience level is, you can take the confirmed entry or the unconfirmed entry. So this was technically an unconfirmed entry if you're looking at typical, market structure break, all that good stuff. But if you're reading the auction, if you're reading the auction map, right, in this case, my auction map would be my key levels, and you can kind of, I guess, preemptively or use things like that as your confirmation. So again, confirmation was right in this area, knowing ahead of time where we were at, right? Knowing that these prime signals started firing off back to back. And so right now we've had one prime. It's failed, but not fully. And we got VWAP here, so they are defending the VWAP. Well, 12 o'clock hour just started. So let's watch what happens with this auction here. I'm still in my trade. Buyers will need to reclaim 75 and hold. Typically, when we start seeing slow grind, this means that they're going to shoot this thing to the other side of our ENSO bands up here. And then at that point, one of two things occur. They either take control and we get bullish again, or they fail and then we get the bigger move. So the market moves in rotations, and that's why we use our bands here, because it shows us basically volatility, right? So rotation 1, rotation 2, rotation 1, rotation 2, boom. Here they failed, so not even a full rotation. We haven't had a full rotation back to the upside since 11:30. So it looks like they might be trying to do that here for 12 o'clock. So if they fail, if they can't get back below 12, then that means that maybe this 30-minute auction could be bullish. And that's fine. So I'm watching here. I don't want to see them reclaim 75s. It's important now that we don't start printing higher highs and higher lows. And if so, then they end up taking it back up to the other band. And that's okay if they do too. I'm going to lock in some profit here at like 286s. I won't get my full rotation to the other side of the initial balance, but that's okay. Well, you pay yourself along the way. So you're trying to fight here at 275. Let's see if they're going to be able to take advantage of it or get some closure through it. Watching the 12 o'clock hour open. Can the sellers get price back below it? There they go. And see if we can maybe scale some more, maybe re-add on that. Stop's already at break even. I added 5 more contracts there. We'll see if we can get the rest of the move here with some more size. So failure to hold the 30-minute auction or opening print there, but they could reclaim. It's still early. They haven't displaced through the low, so this could just be a double bottom retest. Again, we're at a very important support level here, right? This is New York. This is the VWAP for New York, our New York Open. Nice. It's still holding it though, so it's okay. It's like I'll probably get stopped out, break even on this, and that's fine. So until we clear this area here, there's that risk that this thing will run back up and stop out and then try to refill, reload at the other band right here. But what that looks like on a 15-minute would be a sweep of the low here. They may run this low and then reclaim back above. So I'm aware of that. So I'm sitting on 100 ticks right now after adding and scaling into the position. So we'll see now. I don't want to see price reclaim, so I'm just going to try to like tighten up a little bit. Got that VWAP there. They're sweeping now. They're beginning to sweep. When I say sweep, it means they trade through the low of the prior time frame candle or prior low, 5-minute, 15-minute, and then they snap it back up. Right? That's pretty much what a sweep is. They do that to grab some orders and trap people. And, you know, that's not really what it is. It's just how you can frame it just for understanding, you know, it's just an interpretation. So I know everybody's like so anal about, well, that's not really what it is. Well, no one really knows what it is if you're a retail trader. The best you can do is just create your superstitions and your stories to explain what it is or how you can trade it. What matters is how can you trade it, right? Are you effective at taking your interpretation and executing it? That's all really what you can do as a retail trader. You take all the magic, superstitious stuff, order flows, superstitious, moving averages, Fibonacci, all these mythical things, and try to use that to give you a read on the market. And either your read is right or wrong. And most of the time, it's going to be 50-50, regardless of what you use. So it looks like they're trying to reclaim here. So I will probably get tagged out on my trail. Or not my trail, but my ad. And that's okay. That's okay. That's how it goes. All right. We are out on that, guys. We're going to call the stream here. So that initial, I mean, we took a couple different trades here, so we can kind of just wrap it up, kind of review it. Let's see if I can just turn this thing off real quick so I can scroll. If you're new here, you're probably wondering, what are these indicators on the chart? Like, I get it. It looks like a lot of stuff. It's actually really not. These are all my indicators. I built them. I'm probably going to do some type of like video update on how I actually use all these tools. I think that, you know, obviously we just started doing the YouTube channel stuff again. Let's take a look here. Okay, we'll just kind of run through some of the trades from today. The first trade was a quick scalp. Unfortunately, I didn't hold. I didn't have time. Sometimes when you have your ATM set with NinjaTrader, you know, for me at least, I like to be able to control my take profits and stuff like that. But this one immediately hit target. So this would be an instance where you see us grinding down the bottom band. Then we get extreme. When I say extreme, it means that we start getting closure through the bottom band. So these are deviations, right? We use a 2 standard deviation. This is technically a souped up Bollinger Band. So we know that 90+% of the time price is going to stay inside the band. So as soon as we start getting extreme, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get a bounce or a reversal, but you know, it's just kind of a heads up. But I don't ever just take it based on that. It's going to be based on, again, my auction map. What's the auction map here? We have our gamma level. This being a major level, which is our HVL. So 30,000, we hit the level, and then, okay, sure, we should anticipate a reaction. So we get that nice little quick reaction right there. The next trade, let's see, I think it was initially a short. Yeah, let's see, right here. Okay, so we were looking at this major level at 300. We had seen rejection here. Okay, we did get that rotation. So we had this rotation from this high to this low. So we were anticipating a failure, and then another move back lower. So the initial short was right here, was a little early. Okay, so I cut that very quickly. I was thinking that maybe this rejection of our 300 level here would be the opportunity. Then we ended up breaking back above 300, and then we broke back below. And then we also had an ATR flip. So if you're not familiar with ATR flips, this is based on what we call super trend. That's what this indicator is with the line. So I was like, okay, let's give it a go. Boom, try to get short again, put stop above structural high, which was our also our VWAP from GlobeX. We got stopped out, right? So small stop, full stop. Then I said, okay, let's see what happens next. Reclaimed again, got short again. This time, left my stop off this structure just because now I understood, okay, these guys here, you see these little arrows there? Those are the trap buyers. Those are the trap buyers. So now I'm like, okay, those guys are in pain. They're stuck. So we got short, stop above the high, sat through this pullback. Price comes back in on the reclaim, added more contracts, and then took off 90% at the retest. So that was about 100 ticks, 120 ticks, give or take. And then my runner got stopped out, which was my last 2 contracts. So we put in 10, took off, what was it, 8 for 100 plus, and then the last 2 contracts tagged out there. Looks like the market's selling off now. Okay, so that was that. And then the last trades were, let's see, right here. So initially I was looking for this prime short because we had sold off pretty aggressively. So I was looking at that move down here to potentially get one back here and then get a lower low. But we didn't get that. We got this instead, prime long. I didn't take it, double bottom, came back. So I was thinking short, but because the way they structured it here, I did not take this prime short. It would have worked out nicely. Instead, I ended up getting long on the deeper retracement. So got long from down here, and this was the bigger trade. So this one here, entry at 220s, exit at 48s, so about 25 points, give or take, or 28 points. And then the runners, I took one off at 300, and then the last one off over here. And then I had the prime short, and this was like, okay, now I'm looking for the short. This one here got stopped out, and then caught the next one, which gave me the big risk reward there, right? So overall session, those are the trades. And yeah, that's basically it. Now it looks like the market's really defending this area here. I would be interested in probably getting bullish here if we, I mean, look at these guys. They've been defending it. We've got some trap sellers here now. We built some value. So I think we've spent some time here, and we have a seller failure, so I kind of like that. But I'm not going to just buy it just yet. So that prime long is still in play. I would probably want to see lower and then go higher. But anyways, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. I hope helps. Oh, can you explain GEX levels? Sorry, guys, I had the wrong tab up. I didn't see the stream. I'm kind of new to the streaming on YouTube thing, so I'm not used to like reading a chat and all that. How do you trade this great? Oh, I don't think I trade great. I think I'm actually a bad trader, to be honest. I feel like I'm not a good trader, which is why I have to be that much more, what's the word? I won't say patient or cautious. It's more like I had to put a lot more effort into building this narrative so I could like protect my trading from myself, because I'm actually not a great trader. I've been trading for a long time, so I can tell you that, you know, I've been doing this since 2016, not with futures. I've been trading futures probably since like 2021, 2022, but I'm really not that great of a trader, man. But thank you, appreciate that. Can you explain GEX levels? Yes, GEX levels are what we call gamma exposure. So gamma exposure is basically what we're looking at is where are the market makers and the dealers positioned. Where are they exposed, right? Meaning vulnerable. So these levels are not just like arbitrary levels based on swing high, swing low, or regular just support resistance like most of us use. These are actual levels where dealers are actually in position and looking at and monitoring. And as a result, when price moves to these levels, the dealers are taking action. So when they take action, it's all dependent on the what we call the gamma environment. So if we're in positive gamma or negative gamma, it determines if they're going to be hedging against price. So if price moves towards, like for instance, on the 15-minute chart today, Oh, actually, we can just look at, it might be easier to see it on the 15 because there's less stuff on the 15-minute chart. Let me just pop that on there real quick. On the 15-minute chart, the main gamma level today was at 300, 0 DTE exposure. We call this the HVL. So above this level, we're positive gamma. Below this level, we're negative gamma. So this level ends up becoming very significant, not for me, not for you, but for the dealers. And those are the people who are moving big volume. So as we can see, you know, price initially rejected this level here. And if you go to small time frame, they would call this like a pin because price goes there, they start consolidating and chopping around at this price. And then eventually they leave and they come right back again. So that's how we know it's significant. So as price came up to this level, you know, it typically in a positive gamma environment, what happens is when these levels start getting traded to, price is bullish, price is moving, right? So if we look at the actual underlying instrument of this, in this case, this is technically the options chain for NQ, but usually you'll be looking at NDX or QQQ, which are, you know, obviously the options versions of the NASDAQ. So when price moves to these levels, what dealers are going to do is they're going to have to start selling the underlying in the futures market. So if people are buying it up, people are buying calls, right? That means that the dealer needs to sell calls, right? The dealer is going to have to obviously take the counter side of that trade, but in order to remain, they call delta neutral, they're going to have to offset their own positions by trading futures, right? Which means they're going to be either buying or selling futures. And that's kind of just a basic example of what it is. I mean, you don't necessarily need to understand all the complexities of trading options, but just go on YouTube and just search gamma levels or GEX levels. Super important since 2024, I think 2022 or 4 or whatever year it was, where the options flow started making up, or 0 DTE came out, and that's what really influenced, I would say, the overall way in which the futures market trades, right? So it wasn't really a thing before 2022. Once they launched 0 DTE options, that just flooded the market, and now we have to acknowledge it. We can't just ignore it. Because this is giving us literally what I call the auction map, right? And that's what we built here. We have literally a map of all the important levels, and you'll find that a lot of times these levels line up with major quarter levels. And then just kind of using that to figure out, hey, you know, where does it make the most sense to start anticipating significant reactions or significant responses, right? So like if you trade fair value gaps as an example, I'm not against fair value gaps. I know some people, oh, it doesn't work. No, it works because it's all about context. It's all about how you use it. But if we understand, okay, cool, there's these gaps being formed, fair value gaps form as we start pushing to a gamma level. Well, that's important information because now it tells me that's a reason to get short. Because if we fail to hold that level, we know dealers are going to be selling that move as price moves towards that level because they have to hedge. And therefore, I can use that to short back to the fair value gap because we know the fair value gap is going to get tested. So, you know, it's just all about how you frame things. Anyways, if you're interested in getting some more information on that, we do have the indicator. Usually, you've got to pay like a subscription for stuff like an options indicator or options software. There's a ton of them out there, so you can check them out. We get the levels every day, so we just pump it through our indicator, so you can get access to that if you're interested. You can check it out on the website. dynastytradingsystems.com, and pretty much everything you see on the charts we've built, so you get access to all of it if you're interested in learning the system, videos, all that good stuff. But I'll be live streaming, and I guess part of the process of live streaming is just talking about kind of how we frame things. It's nothing new, maybe new to you, but yeah, I think that's basically it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great rest of your morning, and I guess hit the thumbs up button if you can. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.